Hi, I'm Andrew Armstrong and welcome to the Back Office Teardown Lab. There's nothing better than a £5 broken Dreamcast that isn't really broken, and that's what this one was. If you've watched my previous video, you saw how I managed to repair this port here, and subsequent to that I actually tweaked the laser because the laser was messing up a bit. But that's not what I wanted to do with it. I wanted to do more things with it. So I'm going to put the Dreamcast on the side and show you a few accessories I bought for it. Not cheap. It was around £25. This is a Sega Dreamcast HDMI cable, and what's cool is it actually has the adapter there, but also has a 5-foot HDMI cable included in the box. So that's pretty good value. So I'm going to be using that later. There's probably not much point unboxing that. I've got this kit here. So if you saw last video, I showed you how to change the battery, at least how to get to it, and I actually put in a polyfuse from one of the polyfuses I use on my Atari ST USB board. But this is the actual kind of official kit that somebody makes, and it has the battery holder, the real-time clock battery holder, the polyfuse and a cap. So I think I'm going to go in there again and let's fit that, because we made allowances for that last time, and actually there was a piece which is this that I didn't fit back, which is a shield to stop light coming out the ports. So that LED actually shines through here if you don't put that black thing in. And something else I want to fit is this, and this is very sexy. This is an emulator for the disk drive, and I think this is, it's called a GD-ROM emulator if I'm not totally mistaken. And you can see if I unwrap that, it gives you a lovely SD card slot and I don't know what that is, reset button or something. But what's really cool, it's a solder-free modification. So you can see this actually will clip in exactly where the drive here fits in. So I'll show you that fitting. And in preparation for that, see, there's a lot in this video. I actually also 3D printed some accessories, because instead of just slamming these in, you can actually look. Oh, and it does seem to line up. Yes, it does. Bonza. So that you can actually do a good job of it. So that's what that's for. I'm doing a lot of quotey fingers. So first things first is to open it up. So flip her over, pop your modem off, and get those screws undone. And you can see I'm being a little bit rough and ready with this one. That's because it's a rough and ready one. I haven't cleaned it yet, and I'm not too worried about scratching it because it's already really mashed. But if you've got a nice one, maybe put it down in a bit of bubble wrap or something, because you don't want to ruin it. Oh, my screwdriver. I could do with a magnetic screwdriver at the minute. So how do we do this? Magnetize. So that's a magnetizer, demagnetizer. If you've seen it in a previous video, I apologise. And clearly I'm not using it right, so forget that. Maybe it's the screws aren't so magnetic. Get that out. I wonder what happened in the olden days when you had a disk drive. Did you have to be careful what screws you used? Right, so these are quite easy because they just whip off. I do like that design, isn't it? Just whip offable. You don't have to worry about that. Whip it off. Rip it real good. Oh no. Got a fluff. Right, so there is the actual board that we're going to work on first. I'm going to get the old little soldering iron off to my side on, and it's just whack out those 4 screws. And you can see this one's missing the shielding because I was messing with it. Right, that's the one that we discombobulated last time to get it working. Frankly, I didn't even think I'd get it working, but it is. So, and working it stays. So I'm going to have a look where this capacitor might go. Actually, that kit did come with a little capacitor. I don't know if we'll bother changing it if it's necessary or not, but we'll get in there. So undo the 4 screws. Now's a good time, by the way, to undo this fan connector. Probably better to do it before you even take the screws out. So undo your fan connector and pop out your little ribbon, your interconnect ribbon, and put all those things safe. Now if you're very ginger and very careful, you can actually just get this PCB out by forcing it. No, by working it gently. There you go. I think this front plate does actually come off. How did we get that off last time? Well, it seems I can get it out without taking off the front plate, so guess we don't worry about that. So you can see there, that was my mod, and it was a little bit naughty. See, it went a bit naughty, so I had to fix it back up because the pin snapped when I put it back in. But as I say, frankly, for something I didn't think would work, I'm pretty happy. I might actually put some araldite on that. So you can see though, let's get back to the thing in hand. let's whip out the parts of this kit. So there's 3 items, and you have here a polyfuse. Now, I'm not going to bother fitting that because you can see I fit one already, so that was pretty simple. I think the trick of the polyfuse, if you watch my last video, was I actually fit it from the top. I didn't go in and actually mount it properly through hole. I actually fitted that from the top, which is kind of cool. But you're going to see the same process, assuming, I tell you what, look at this tiny electrolytic. Look how teeny it is. 10 volts, 47 microfarads. Look at that, is that modern technology? Why is that one so much teenier, tinier? But I'm going to show you that one anyway. And just pay attention here. You see there's a band here that has a minus on it. That's the negative of that capacitor. So when we put this new electrolytic in, we have to go in the same way. So again, if you're doing the polyfuse, that's the same process. So get your soldering iron. And first off, you've got lots of ways of doing this. So you can try to desolder each leg, which is the way I'm doing. So I'm just pulling and heating. Be very gentle on how much you pull though, because the last thing you want to do is damage the wires. And you can see that didn't work out because it's not coming. So all I'm going to do is cut them off. So just get in with your choppers and chop that off. And throw it in the bin so you don't get mistaken with it. So what we'll have to do though is clean out those holes, because those holes are not going to be any use to us filled with solder. So get the solder. So again, you're going, how are you going to clean the holes out? And I do apologise for anybody who doesn't have the equipment. Now, if you were doing the pulling out technique, if you actually loaded your soldering iron like that and put a big blob of solder, chances are you would have been able to pull that a bit better. I kind of knew I was going to solder suck this out, so I was less bothered about it. I might have to bolt this thing down. It's jumping around like a jacaranda. Come on, get through. Just pushing out the old legs there. Come on. Turn it over. You can see there's some stumps. Let's pull those stumps. I'm going to zoom in. You get full stump action there. Get out of it. So I won't apologise for having tweezers though, guys. If you haven't got good tweezers, get hold of some. You will probably need those in your electronics career. So let's heat that up. Hole is clear. Heat that up. Hole is clear. There you go. I had to go at my fancy electric solder sucker again the other day. Wouldn't recommend it again. Still wouldn't recommend it. Sorry guys who invested. It's a bit painful. I kind of like the semi-electric one. So I'm going to pop that in. Remember now, a negative to that darkened side. So there's a negative band, and then there's I say darkened, it's got a white bit. Just pop that in. Just pop it in the same way you took it out. That's probably the best advice I can give. I'm going to splay the legs out slightly because when I flip it I don't want it to fall over. And then I'm just going to hit that again. Bit of solder. Lovely bit of solder. Lovely bit of solder. And we're virtually done, because we need to just trim those off. I'm just going to trip like that, and another little snip. So that's that. So the next one was the battery, and you remember last time we actually cut the battery out from the top. My soldering iron refuses to come and play, soldering iron. I'm just going to do the same thing we did last time. I can see a bit of wire in there, so we're just going to grab it if we can. If your battery has leaked, it might be a good idea to have a little think about how you're going to handle that. Oh look, that's why they've bent over the connectors. You would never in a million years be able to pull that one through. I had a TI, the TI 99s are a bit like that, where they've got the bent over feet. I think what I'm going to do is just try to get them back up. Yes, as best as I can. They're not actually. Come on. And that's why I think, actually, thinking about it, that technique of cutting is probably going to work out better for you on this. I need a much heavier soldering iron base. It's done the trick. Did it Tony Hawk style. Has anybody tried those fancy helping hands yet? That's something I might want to invest in. They're not like the old metal ones with the crocodile clips on it. They've got all sorts of fancy hands, mobile army things that just are all over the place. You can bend them in every direction. So if you've got one of those and you have had good results, let me know, because anything to stop a board jumping around like this would really help. In fact, I'm going to cut and then because it's driving me nuts. I won't lie and sugarcoat it, that was horrible. Anyway, I got it out through a combination of solder sucking and brute force with the pliers. So, be careful, that's all I can say. So the contacts are ready, you can see them there, and then your battery snap has 3 as well. So that's an easy one, isn't it? We'll just plop that in, push it through, make sure it's all the way home. And then you end up with 3 divots here, and we're going to push that down so it's not moving around. And finally get to solder it back in, and that's proper job. That's pleasant, that's fine. I don't know why Sega didn't do that themselves. I guess they saved a bit of cash by not doing that. Now, something to be wary of, you need to now put in a cell in there, and if you've got regular cells, like I think these arrived. These arrived just the other day, came to my house in the usual way. They were battery cells for a VMU. But if you put them in your Sega Dreamcast, then they will turn into poo, because they are not rechargeable. These are lithium. No, we're losing it. The lithiums you want are called ML2032s, I believe. You can look it up. In fact, no, they're going to be thicker than... I don't know. Let's see if... Okay, hang on. Hang on a minute. I think I've got a loose pack open. I can tell you. I'll tell you. So that's how they would go. So if you put that in, actually it would work until the Dreamcast tried to charge it up. So that's a CR2032. So what you're going to need is the ML2032. Okay, write that down. ML2032. That's the rechargeable lithium version. Good, so I think we're pretty much done here. If you wanted to, you could change the LED, and that would be super pimped up. And then you just shove it in. Basically, fitting is the same as reversal, but I'm going to stop the camera. You know why? I'm going to put some araldite on here, and when we come back, that'll be fitted, and we'll start taking apart this part. And you can see I put the black light shield back in, and I've got my araldite. I'm a little bit worried that my epoxy resin is going to run into our connector, but if you try something like that, be careful. We already knew it was a broken one. I have to buy a new bowl from China. They cost £10. Right, this is the piece we want to remove, and I have not removed one fully. I've removed it a bit because I can show you where the laser is on one of these if you're kind of curious of where the laser adjustment is. So if you pop them out, I can zoom right in there. That in there is the laser adjustment, and you can see I've tweaked it to try to get it to give it more go. Yeah, it wasn't really, it was just really slow, horrible, making loads of noise. They might already be like that actually as standard, but I waited ages for Sonic Adventure to load, and Sonic, that was terrible. That wasn't worth the wait. I don't know, do you like Sonic Adventure, anybody? Because that game to me was bonkers. I mean, totally bonkers. I didn't know, it didn't feel like a Sonic game at all. Right, I don't know how this comes out, so I'm going to just risk taking out some of these screws here. Yeah, let's do that, and then we'll see if I'm wrong or right. We may or may not edit this video to make it look like I'm clever, not making a mistake, but I'm pretty sure you'll be doing the same as me, having a little bit of a play. Maybe I didn't have to take off the DVD drive thing, but you get to see where the laser was, so you learnt something. That's something, isn't it? This wasn't a waste of time if you're learning. Oh, whew. That's pretty clever, isn't it? That thing is all modular. So look, I could put that on eBay and sell that as untested, couldn't I? Totally untested laser. And if you've done that, make sure you put that cable back on, and they'll know you've been in there. Let's try that actually, because this is something you might want to do, is do that laser mod first before trying to fit this SD card thing, because you you know, you might have written off the laser thing, but remember, just turn it, when you turn the laser, turn it clockwise about 1/8 of a turn, and then give it another go. See what happens, if that works. Come on. To be honest, you've got more chance of damaging that cable trying to put that in. Anyway, we're not here for this, so let's put that away. Someone said these things are worth quite a lot of money, by the way, so I don't know, a working one. Don't throw it away if it is working. Blow away the dust. Let's see what we've got now. So we have this thing, and that's clearly just going to park itself like that. Which seems pretty low down, doesn't it? I mean, if you take the case and you pop that on top, that looks pretty low down in there, doesn't it? I thought it sits right high up at the top, so I don't know if that's a mod or something else. Let's have a look at all of these other bits and pieces we've 3D printed. So that would potentially live there, and that would potentially live right on top of it, just like that. So I guess that is looking about right. And then this part lives on the actual lid. So you can see here, I believe this is designed to keep the airflow going and will somehow fit here. Oh, just like that. You can see that's apart like that. Let's see how that kind of looks. I'm going to push it all on. See if everything kind of lines up, and then we'll start figuring out. Oh yeah, it does. Look. There you go. I think you can just about see it. Your SD card will easily slide in there off the back of that tray. You can store additional SD cards, and it sits really deep. I think some I saw where they put it right up to the lid, but that's fine. That keeps small little fingers from really able to yank it out. We shut that on. So, in terms of fitting hardware though, I think we're going to have to improvise something up a bit, because I can see already that the original screws obviously are not long enough. You can certainly screw it into this, so I think, let's see how we might do it. So you could screw this chassis in there at the back, so let's do that right away. Get that screwdriver in through here. So this is just 3D printed. I would have got it from Thingiverse, and there you go, that is gone in quite nicely. It's kicking up. It's kicking up. Maybe it's a bit too tight. A bit loose. And you can just go on Thingiverse, get the model, and just print it all up. But what I would need, and what you would advise, I'd advise you to do, is look for some longer machine screws. So I'm going to see if I can find some screws that are long enough to go right through there. Found a wood screw. Put that in there. Hopefully not so long that it's gone and punctured the PCB. Otherwise that would certainly be game over for this Dreamcast. Now, is it Dreamcast? Yeah, I'm getting confused with GameCube. Every now and then I'm referring to them both ways. So by the way, these are the standoffs that come with the kit if you don't have a 3D printer and just want to mount that. That's what you need. To be honest with you, you might not be in it that much, so the whole 3D printed tray might be a thing you'd never want. My board's kind of gone in a little bit twisted, it seems, but it seems okay. Probably some geometry differences with the footprint of that 3D model. There might be something you might want to fiddle with or fettle with. So we do have that piece still in the lid, and that looks, to be honest, okay. I'm going to just see if everything fits down. And yeah, I think it does really. Oh, I see. There is a little bit of fight. It's fighting me a little bit because there's one little thing here in the 3D print that needs to be cleared out, because that is where the screw head goes. So it does sort of suggest there might be different models of these, because there are other cutaways here that don't seem to line up with anything else. In fact, there is one, but I think it's lining up. Oh, it's the LED. There's an LED cutaway. So potentially if you printed this in clear, you might still have some nice LED effect. The LED is just in there, out of the way, out of eyesight. So I'm going to flip that over, pop the screws back in, and then I really don't know what to expect. I'm guessing I'm going to have to go online and get some sort of firmware, but I shall let you know all about that after we get that in. Just want to make sure it boots up, to be honest with you. I think if it can boot up with just a firmware, it doesn't even have to have a ROM, at least you know you're more or less along the right lines. So pop your screws in. Make sure everything works. Of course, don't forget your modem, you'll want that, otherwise you won't be able to go on the internet. And it should look a little bit something like that, which I think is rather smart. Time to wrap it up. I have had a play with this and it is working rather well. You can see my little SD card perched in there. I did have a game on there called Gauntlet Legends, which I thought was worth trying. Yeah, it loaded up quickly. You do have a few interesting things where it goes to the Dreamcast loading, because it emulates you putting a disc in, so you can choose in the software. There's a software called GD-ROM or something that you use to build the firmware for the disc. So it's just like a special menu software, so you put all your ROMs in it and it builds the menu, and that's the menu you see on the screen. And you can force VGA and force a menu mode, and I think that means it goes to the Dreamcast menu first rather than boot straight into the game, which is the menu software is like a game. But yeah, it works really well. That button in here, if you can just about see, there's a little tack switch in there. That button is a reset, so that just takes you back to the sort of Dreamcast menu. Good, it works really well. I will say one thing, I did try that gadget in the back and it worked really well, though there was a little bit of, I think there's crusties in here I've got to clean out, because when I wiggled it I could see the picture changing. That did seem a little bit bright, so I don't know if that was the HDMI adapters just a little bit on the bright side, a little bit washed out. I might open that and put some resistors in on the RGB that's coming out. It's obviously an RGB to HDMI convert, but apart from that it's okay. I mean, you can just get a SCART wire if you're really that concerned. I was running it off RF for a while, so that's how I was using it. So I was quite impressed actually. It has a really good RF compared to Sega Mega Drive. So I guess even RF technology improved over the years. So there you go. That's how you install your GD-ROM emulator. Please like, share, subscribe, come join me in my Discord channel, or leave a comment down below. As ever, thanks for watching. Bye bye.